Even though our loss is not as immediate as it normally would be in this kind of gathering, our purpose today is to be able to offer appropriate mourning to our friend Bud. When we lose a person, we honor them with our mourning. And the circumstances of the last year and a half have been such that we have had many losses, that we have been unable to show our grief in a traditional and therefore feeling appropriate in how we mourn. Today is not just about mourning the loss of a friend. When we lose someone, in the Jewish tradition, we deserve to be able to be treated as mourners. We deserve to have our loss recognized and to have those who love and care for us show their support. And so that is also what today is about. So by being here today, you not only show your love, your support, your care for Bud, but you are showing your love and support for all of those that he has left behind. And it is so meaningful to his family that you can be here today. We begin with the traditional words of the 23rd Psalm. If you will turn to the inside of your pamphlet. The Psalms are the emotional range of our scripture. You can find a psalm for any emotion you might be experiencing at any given point. The 23rd Psalm is offered to us as a way of expressing not only our grief, but our hope for comfort. And so, together, let us read, asking God to acknowledge our grief, to give us comfort, and to let us emerge in triumph. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Come, my children, and listen carefully. You will learn what it means to fear Adonai. Who is eager for life? Who desires years of good fortune? Guard your tongue from evil, your lips from deceitful speech. Shun evil and do good. Seek amity and pursue it. As a father has compassion for his children, Adonai has compassion for those who show reverence. God knows how we are fashioned. God remembers that we are dust. The days of mortals are like grass. We flourish as the flowers of the field. A wind passes over them, and they are no more, and no one can recognize where they grew. But Adonai's compassion is everlasting. God's kindness to children's children, to all the reverent ones, endures age after age, unchanging. Today, we are going to hear from a number of people who knew and loved Bud best. We're going to hear from his children, his grandchildren, and perhaps even his spouse. All of these speakers are going to share with us a different aspect of the Bud that they knew. And so, as we reflect on our own personal memories, we also get to understand these different facets of a person who is no longer in our lives, but who we will remember not only in our own ways, but in the ways that are expressed for us. We'll first hear from Lindsay and Spencer, his grandchildren, and then from A.J. Owen. Then we'll continue to hear from Barb, Jeff, Paul, Joel, and Bobby. Thank you.
difficult for me. All right. Thank you all for being here today. It certainly shows how well. Shit. Alrighty. I didn't think I was going to do this early. Oh, shit. It certainly shows how well loved my poppy was. But Poppy wasn't just my Poppy. He was Poppy for all my close friends and my teammates on every sports team I played on. I know that if I forgot to give him a fist bump before a basketball game, that Sam Sullivan would be right there behind me for him, and Poppy would be just as happy. He truly cared and was supportive of everyone he became close with. I am so thankful of the thousands of memories I got to share with him. I know you said I was a man of very few words, so here are a few words for you, Poppy. I love you and miss you tremendously. You the man.
My Poppy would have been so happy, proud, and grateful right now. Today means so much for our family, and we are all appreciative to have everyone together in honor of the world's best Poppy. I'm so lucky to have grown up with such an amazing grandpa. We have countless memories and traditions that will stick with me forever. A special tradition that Poppy had with me and Spencer was that he kept little toys in the backseat pockets or the rear door pockets of his car for us to play with. These toys were anything from Pokemon cards to McDonald's Happy Meals toys to toy cars. What made this much more special was that when he got a new car, he kept the same toys in the same spot as they were in the previous car. As we got older and no longer needed amusement in his back seat, he'd slowly take out most of the toys, and we'd maybe find a random Pokemon card or character in the back. When Poppy died and Grammy was cleaning out his car, she found a Ziploc bag of toys in his trunk, and I can't bear to throw them away, knowing that he kept them in his car for all these years. Poppy and I had traditions just between us. On Saturdays, we would start the day at Allergy Shots and then head over to Michael's to get lunch, and of course, spend some time at the claw machine. After lunch, we'd go shopping. When I was younger, we would go to Toys R Us, but as I got older, we would go on Webkinz hunts. He said he had a big S on his forehead for sucker because he could never say no to me. I'd always get a random call or text message that said, Lululemon called me and they said they haven't seen you in a while. I think we need to go. Poppy was always so proud of me no matter what. He came to every single skating competition and show and had a smile ear to ear. I know he would have been proud of my job right now and my goals for my future. Thank you, Poppy, for all the memories and traditions. I miss you so much, and as you'd always say, I love you more.
Wow, there's a lot of people. Hello, my name is AJ Owen, or as Papa liked to call me, his favorite grandson west of the Mississippi. My Papa was someone I will always look up to and reflect on the impact he had on my life. He was one of the hardest working men I've ever met. Even when he came to Arizona, his breadman title followed him. I didn't know why his phone was always blowing up, but now I realize it was everyone asking, hey Papa, where's my bread? Papa and I always had a strong bond through our love towards sports, whether it was my Friday night football games or the Cubs playing the White Sox. Go Cubs. I always loved hearing from him on Sundays to talk about who he thought was going to win that day for football games, and we would place $1 bets if we disagreed on a team. I think he still owes me a few bucks. One reason I chose to attend Ripon College was to be close to my Chicago family. After Papa passed, something I heard that warmed my heart was how excited he was to be able to drive to my games. Every day I strive to become the man that he was, and I know he will be with me through that journey. Thank you.
It's going to take me a while to get through this, and I will. But it's important for me to share my dad and the memories I have with him and a lot of his lessons, which are quite a few, and you'll hear about them. It is with very mixed emotion that I stand here today. Nothing makes me happier than for the fact that I can finally be in a room of people and share my dad with all of you. Yet I'm extremely sad. Sad for what the last 16 and a half months took away from me. March 14, 2020 was the day my world shut down. My dad died that evening and COVID put us all in quarantine. I would never have imagined a time when I couldn't give my dad a proper funeral surrounded by close friends and family. Nor can I imagine a time walking in my house with no Shiva and no one to greet me with a hug after experiencing the most devastating loss of my life. I'm angry for that, but thankful that today is actually here and I can move forward. I'd like to share the same eulogy that I read on March 17th of last year, exactly as I read it that day. Even though the dates may not make sense today, it's important to me to repeat it, as I want my story to be how I initially wrote it, and with the intention it would be heard by a room full of people. I'm also hoping that my dad hears me and feels my love and gratitude yet one more time. Penny for your thoughts. My dad often said that to me as we drove alone in the car. He always wanted to know what I was thinking, no matter if it were a short distance to a friend's house or my days off school where we drove an hour together to his office. He cared and he was genuinely interested in what I always had to say. Well, Dad, today I'm rich in thought. There's so much I have to say at a time where I have to say goodbye. I don't want to stop talking because I don't want to let go. You were the most generous and caring and loving father a girl could ever hope for, and all daughters should be so lucky. As I got older, you frequently mentioned that you felt badly that you traveled for work and not present when I was little. I know that you felt that you weren't physically around, but I never noticed. It was because of the quality time we spent together and the thoughtful moments we shared. Of course, I will always remember and cherish our many family vacations, dinners, celebrations, the list goes on and on. But today, I think about the little things that left me with the fondest memories of my father. I think about multiple years when you traveled over Valentine's Day and that I would wake up to a single rose in a vase with a card next to my bed. I think about when I would open my lunch at school and often find a smiley face or a simple I love you written on my paper napkin. I only wish that I had kept all those napkins, as it always brightened my day. I think about you inventing the sick well present. Anytime I was sick, you immediately told me I deserve a sick well present to make me feel better. You then taught this to my kids, and I still ask them what they want from Poppy anytime they're sick. I think about driving down Radcliffe Drive in your big Cadillac as you put me in your lap and I steered while you pressed the pedals. I think about sitting at Temple during the high holidays at both Beth Shalom and Rofi Zedek while braiding your tallis fringe and tassels. I still see some of my braids on the tallis that Mom just gave me. that is just like you to leave a few for the memories and not undo all of them. I think about Indian princesses and our Hopi tribe. I was Little White Cloud, and you were Big Thunderstorm. I think of how much fun we had together with the other dads and daughters in our many camping adventures. Imagine a bunch of Jewish men together in a rainstorm pitching a tent. Let's just say that was the last time our group ever slept in a tent. I think about our drive down a long, windy road in Wisconsin. I don't even know why or where. Must have been while at overnight camp, as we laughed out loud reading the progression of caution signs, slow, slower, and slowest. I think about our secret gesture to say I love you. I understood when I was older that you feared there'd be a time when your little girl would not say I love you in public, and you respected that and you did not want to embarrass me. It was a thumb to your nose. So when I was young, you suggested we come up with our secret symbol. It was a thumb to your nose and wiggle your fingers. No one ever knew until one day your mother caught us as we were passing through her kitchen. I took the heat as she saw me, not you, and snapped at me to never make faces at my father. You told me you would still never let into her or anyone that was our special bond. That is until my wedding day. You spoke and you spoke beautifully, and I could tell it was coming. You let out the secret and you had everyone in tears. I think about overnight camp and how I hated it. You made me stick it out year after year for 8 weeks every summer. I remember all the letters you mailed, and I've saved all of them. You would sign off the same way every time. At the beginning of the summer, it was, "Love, Dad, P.S. Put your thumb to your nose and wiggle your fingers, ... I love you." With each week or so, you would drop off another word until all that was left by the end of the summer was, "Love, Dad, P.S. Put your thumb, ... I knew what you meant. I think about how often you told me how proud you were of me. I think about high school and college and how much fun you had with me and my close friends. You loved my friends because they're such a special and huge part of my life. They all called you Daddy as they too felt your love. I think about one of your many Texas visits and your fascination with Jell-O shots. I think about playing your favorite song, Georgia on My Mind, for our father-daughter dance at my wedding. I think about you being at the hospital for the birth of both Lindsay and Spencer. I think about how much you love Ben as your son and not son-in-law. And as you would affectionately say, he was not only your son, but your attorney, your accountant, and your computer consultant. Ben, you did so much for my father, and you offered him so much love and support. He appreciated you and all that you do for him, my mom, me, and our family. He even gave you one last reminder this past Friday to continue to take good care of his daughter. I know you will honor his wishes, and I will always love you for that. Those are just a few of the so many childhood memories I have to hold on to. You knew how to make me feel special, loved, and most importantly, that I mattered. I can't thank you enough for that gift. As difficult as it is to speak emotionally about my relationship with my father, I don't have near enough words to describe the relationship my father had with my children. Lindsay and Spencer, I want you both to know truly how much your papi loved you. Not a single day would go by when he didn't ask about you. You were his pride and his joy, and as he said, brought him much nachas. He so frequently had tears in his eyes watching you at all different sporting events. As he said, I wish my mother were alive to see them. The last 22 years, he lived his life through you. Lindsay, you were the first grandchild, and boy, did you have a strong and special relationship with your papi. And as you said, he often said there was a big S on his forehead, as he was a sucker, and I could never, and I mean never, say no. You spent many Saturdays together going from allergy shots to lunch at Michael's. Papi and I would joke that half your college tuition was in the crane machine. You finished off the afternoon with a routine trip to Toys R Us. As you got older, there were no longer Pokemon cards, My Little Pony, or Webkins. It was instead frequent stops at Lululemon. And even on your last visit this past Friday, he looked at you and said, Lululemon is calling that they haven't seen you in a while to go buy yourself something. You both had a good laugh. Your papi was so unbelievably proud as he watched you skate. He loved to come cheer you on at all of your competitions and ice shows, and never a dry eye as you took the ice. How many papis would foul the bus to Ann Arbor on a cold December day to watch your synchronized skating team form for maybe 3 minutes. He was not willing to miss any of it. Lindsay, hold on to those special memories. And hold on to that last moment as you left the ICU room and said goodbye. And he turned towards you and we noticed a smile. Spencer, you were the first grandson. He was so proud of you and all of your accomplishments. He absolutely loved, and I mean loved, watching you play sports. He attended almost all of your house and travel baseball games and your many basketball games too. He understood you when not many did. He knew just how to speak to you at the field or court, whether it was a simple wave, a smile, or a fist pump. His proudest moment was watching you play in Cooperstown with your travel baseball team and hit the first home run. I still remember the huge smile from ear to ear as he said, "That's my boy." Your baseball team, your basketball team, and friend group became his family. Your friends and their parents graciously accepted Poppy and included him in the camaraderie. He made everyone feel like he was their Poppy too. He would get so excited if he saw your friends and my friends around the community. They would all greet him with a huge hello as they shouted out, "Hi, Poppy." He loved it, and I am so thankful to all of them in giving him that gift. Just as Lindsay had her last special moment in the hospital Friday, hold on to that moment of yours. When you walked in and he smiled and looked right at you and said, as he so often said, "You the man." Lindsay and Spencer, Poppy fought hard because he fought for you. He wanted to continue to watch you grow and wanted the absolute best for both of you. Lindsay, he wanted to see you at your college graduation and wants you to go all the way to pursue your dream in medicine. Spencer, he wanted to watch you as you continue your education at Texas. How special it is that you joined his fraternity and was able to give you his ZBT pin while you were home for the holidays. He was so proud of who you are and who you are becoming. Lindsay and Spencer, it's okay to be sad and have days where you really miss him. You have so many beautiful memories to hold on to and reflect upon when you need him. I know there weren't enough years, but I want you to feel blessed and fortunate that you have the world's best Poppy. The timing's off, but other than these few days, March 17th, 2016, exactly 4 years ago today, was one of the most difficult and saddest days. We sat in your hospital room as we listened to your doctor and favorite nurse, Mary, tell you what was ahead. You were scared about what was on the other side, scared of your world being quiet, scared to not be there for us and to see your beautiful grandchildren. There were tears and words with strong emotions, but you looked at Mom and you looked at me and vowed to be strong for us as you faced your own death. That is how selfless you were. In those few minutes, you were quickly learning how to process what you had just been told, while at the same time learning to be at peace with the world. You were learning how to be strong and be sad at the same time. You told us life was so good to you. You had everything you ever wanted. You didn't need any more. And here we are 4 years later. You chose to go on dialysis at a critical moment, and it worked, and you weren't willing to give up because you said there was still so much more you had to see. You fought and you fought so hard, and I'm so beyond grateful that you gave me another 4 years to be with you and share in so many special moments. And that same afternoon, I had to figure out how to balance my selfishness to hold on while at the same time let go of the fight. And I had to do it again this past Thursday while you made your decision in the ICU. It hurts and it hurts badly, and I can't imagine a day without our daily phone conversations. I will never understand that one day I'm speaking to you, and the next I can't hear your voice except for in my head. I'm scared of forgetting that voice, your hug, your smile, your love. You are my #1 fan. You offered support and stability when I put too much pressure on myself to succeed. When I faced my own anxieties and defeat, you calmed me by often saying, "Did you try your best? Then that's all I can ask." You taught me to be the better person, even if I didn't want to. You taught me to do the right thing. You taught me to stop at McDonald's drive-thru just for their Diet Coke. You taught me to work hard. You taught me to appreciate what you have. You taught me to never leave my gas tank anywhere close to empty, especially in cold weather. You taught me there's no greater love than a parent's love for his or her child. You taught me never to say I love you without responding, I love you more. You taught me how to reverse down the street to double and triple check the garage doors down, but now I have a Wi-Fi lift master and that solved that problem. You taught me it is better to give than to receive. You taught me words only you insisted on using. A fart is a foofy, and the bathroom is the John, and I've always hated those words. You taught me mazel McGlick, luck with luck. I'm still not really sure how to use it, but you used it often. You taught me that it is good luck to spit on a new car. You knew I would never do that, so you told me it's good luck to rain on a new car. You taught me how important it is to have tradition, even our quirky, crazy, anxiety-ridden superstitions that now, thanks to you, I incorporate in my own life. You taught me to save some of the kids' first handwritten notes and tape them to the inside of the medicine cabinet so I could look at that beautiful reminder daily. You taught me to leave a dollar bill in the safe deposit box every time we opened it at the bank. You taught me to treasure the sentimental items and use or wear them in the best of health. You taught me you can't travel without first sitting in the living room chair for 10 seconds to ensure a safe return. You taught me to fight through sadness or pain and put a smile on my face and hold my head high. You taught me to surround myself with family and good friends. Dad, I promise to always remember and live your lessons. I promise to continue to try my very best. I promise to do everything in my power to make you proud. Love, Barbara. P.S. Put your thumb to your nose and wiggle your fingers. ... I love you.
Welcome and thank you for coming. There is no greater pride than the pride we have in our children. I'm going to read again. Thank you and welcome for coming. There is no greater pride than the pride we have in our children. My parents believe strongly in this. It was used an expression that was used in our bar mitzvah or b'nai mitzvah invitations. My father was a man committed to his wife, family, friendships, and was a strong provider. He taught me how to work hard. That was a key to life and success. Today I'm working 3 jobs myself, and I continue to believe in his strong work ethics. He never gave up. He worked to provide for his family. He easily could have, after losing a job he took after leaving Kaufman's in 30 years. Kaufman's was the women's fashion apparel company. He worked for 30 years, very long time. But he lost the job, but like I said, he never gave up on anyone or his family. Instead, he worked several jobs before finding his second love, which was Highland Bakery. His friends and immediate family consumed his life. His wife, his mom, brother Herman Wendorf, Teddy Tutta, Elwyn Carroll, the family, Fishers, the Winstons, and Barb's sons. Endless holidays were spent between our homes. It was important for him to celebrate these holidays. His friends were so important to him. The Orvitzes, the Kaufmans, which were like our cousins or friends, the Feldmans, I think they're here, Paul Friedman, Debbie and Stuart, were so important to him. He talked about them all the time, especially when we were together and we were out in the backyard, and we would often call them together. Dad always included me in their lives and updated me on them, what they were doing, and I enjoyed that, and it was special. He loved the farm that Paul Friedman had, and his blue faded boat. It was a little embarrassing. I don't know if you remember the boat, but it was a small little Rankin boat, and it was blue, but it was a boat, and it was lovely, and we had a good time, and we spent many times on it. I would often hear stories about the farm and knew that this was his special happy place. Thank you, Paul, but I can't believe you still let him drive the tractor. Relationships, whether work or family, drove him to being happy. I was, again, always around when he would call Stuart, Paul, or the bread company, the store, the people there. I know he talked so highly about the people. He took me on tours there, and introduced me, whether it was the online people that worked there or the secretaries. He was always proud of them and the people that worked there. He services customers with first class, something we don't see anymore. When someone asked, like my son said, where's my bread, where's my order, he would personally deliver it without an excuse or delay. My parents took me to college, came to see me in Paris, France, when I studied over there abroad. I studied abroad. My mom took us on a New Year's cruise with the family, or even my fishing trip with my father, memories I still have and believe in today. The 80s and 90s were times of laughter and sit-down meals with the family. We were my grandmother had a place at the Carlisle. In fact, I looked up at it yesterday. I brought my metal detector. I do a lot of metal detecting, and I actually found a lot of good stuff. But I was at Oak Street Beach, and I looked up, and I saw the Carlisle, and we have a lot of family memories, my sister and I there and our family, and it was just a good time. It's hard to believe that, we're not there. But anyway, so 80s, 90s were full of laughter, a lot of sit-down meals and whatnot with the family. We even had half a birthday cake from my Uncle Nicky, which was refrozen by his mom and regifted to Dad. My uncle said, "What am I, half a son?" My dad was surprised as well when he got the leftovers, the other half cake. It's still the family story that we have today about the half a cake that was regifted and gifted again. It's probably still in the freezer there. It wasn't until the Highland Bakery job that my dad worked for, I'm not sure how many years, I know it was a long time, that he was truly the happiest. He loved talking to his customers, and was never a time that he wasn't with me that he never got a phone call from someone and worked it out and said, "I'll be there, I'll bring it to you, I'll do what I need to do to fix the delivery or get it to you." He was great at what he did and making people happy. These years meant a lot to him. People never realize the challenges in life. My father and I often had different opinions, yet he was still my father. He taught me not to give up when the going gets tough. Stay focused and work hard. We came, when he passed, we talked, we had some words. We came to a peaceful understanding and a forgiveness. The hard worker he was is a lesson and trait that I'll always attribute and dedicate to him, and I'm honored to carry forward. I do have a story, it's an interesting story I want to share, that was written, the Feldmans may know, my mom and family. I had a friend, a pen pal from England, Kevin Bracey, who I retouched with, friendly with again, and Roger Bennett. You might know that name, Roger Bennett, the Kroll family. Nick Kroll, his brother-in-law. My friend Roger became an American citizen. I brought him over to the States. He reconnected with me last year and thanked me for bringing him here and making his life the true American life. But what does it have to do with me? Well, it also includes my family, my mom, my dad. My friend Roger has a sports show for ESPN called Men in Blazers, written several books. One is the bestseller right now. It's called Reborn in the USA, and lives in New York with his wife and family But the reason I bring this up is that he included myself. I just found this out from my friend about a month ago. He included myself, my mom, and my dad in the #1 bestseller book. And the last chapter was dedicated to my father, and I want to share it with you. I was just like, wow, it's very special. It's my friend's memory from England coming here and what he felt and how that trip made his difference of coming here, being a citizen, getting married, starting his life here. And like I said, the last chapter, I didn't read the book. I asked my friend, can you send me a copy? And I guess he is, but he's very busy. But here I go. I'm going to read the story with you, end it with this. And I don't know. I believe it all to be true, but again, it's in the book. It's the last chapter of Reborn in the USA, #1 bestseller. I owe an enormous debt of thanks to Jeff Owen, his parents, Bobby and Buddy, for taking me in during that life-changing summer in Northbrook, Illinois. I believe it was 1986. I shudder to think where my sliding doors journey would have led me without it. Writing the book reconnected me to Jeff and his family, and I'm incredibly thankful for that. Buddy has sadly passed away since then. He was a sweet, wonderful bloke who used to slip away mysteriously at night. And I saw it, I was like, where did he go? I did not understand why until I mustered the courage to ask him 2 weeks into my stay. He told me to come with him, which I did. We drove out for an hour, early evening on a warm Chicago night, until the suburban homes and malls were left behind. We arrived at a lake in the middle of nowhere. After parking up, we boarded a boat, his pride and joy, a tiny bathtub of a craft that puttered out to the middle of the lake. We cracked open a cold beer each. It was dark then, and all I saw were the lights at the back of dozens of other boats, just like ours, bobbing up and down. We drank our beers quietly, then headed home. That was it. I realized Buddy's happy place was his boat, and that everyone has to find their happy place in life. New York City's been mine. I raise a beer to Buddy Owen's memory. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you.
It's now my pleasure to invite up Paul Friedman, Bud's close friend.
It's an honor to be here to honor the memory of my friend Buddy. To put this in perspective, Buddy and I met about 40 years ago. It's a long time. And as mentioned earlier, he was famous for being a women's dress salesman covering the upper Midwest. And he told us about his adventures doing that in Iowa, Minnesota, Indiana, Wisconsin. But at the same time, he also told us about being a fisherman, and he loved going fishing in Wisconsin, actually even in Canada. Wherever he could go, he went. So that puts in perspective when I was trying to put together my remarks that I know Buddy in 4 phases of his life. The first being a dress salesman. When that ended, and he joined Highland Baking Company, that was phase 2. And we had a lot in common at that time because I was in a bakery business as well. Mine was frozen, his was fresh, and we'd have a lot of talking about that went on. We'd go out for dinner almost 2 times a month, sometimes 3 times a month. Buddy, myself, Ira Keeshan, who was also with Highland Baking Company, Ron, his, I guess he was a cousin. And we'd have a wonderful time talking about the things that we were doing, the kids that we were fathering, and the adventures we had. That was Buddy's phase 2. Shortly after that time, I bought a farm in Western Illinois, and it was my pleasure to invite Buddy to come out to the farm to see what it was like, and he had an interest to see what I was spending all my money on, and he came out, and he literally fell in love with the farm. That's all I can say. He wanted to be there all the time. When he would come out, he would put up the American flag on the house. He'd go in the garage and start the John Deere tractor, and he was in heaven. And I would allow him to come out as often as he wanted because he was helping me clear the barn. It was a barn from 1893 that had to be renovated and tear down a lot of old farm buildings and burn them up. There was a lot of work to do. And then I would put Buddy on one of the tractors with a big mower, a 6-foot mower behind it, and I'd send him out to the field, say, come back when you're ready. And he'd be out there mowing away and having a wonderful time. I can recall a time when I sent him out to do some cultivating in a field, and I told him, don't go in the corner because it's muddy. You'll get stuck. An hour later, he comes walking back I said, what happened? You run out of gas? He says, no, I got stuck. I said, okay, we'll drag you out. And then we did, and I put him back on the tractor, and he went back to plowing. That was phase 3. And then phase 4 is when he became disabilitated, and when Jocelyn entered his life and took care of him, and we still went out to lunch often. This went on for actually years. I'll never forget the time we were at Players in, I think it's Deerfield or Highland Park, I'm not sure what suburb it's in. And I went into the restaurant, and Buddy was sitting at the table, and I said to him, where's Jocelyn? He said, Jocelyn's in the car. I said, why is she in the car? Well, we got in a little argument, and she said, I'm not going in. And I said, well, Buddy, you're not eating until Jocelyn's here at the table with us. And I went out, and I told Jocelyn, come on in, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to eat together, and he's sorry for what he said. He may not say it to you, but he is. And Jocelyn was just so wonderful in taking care of him. And I don't know what else I can tell you about Buddy. He's had 3 careers: dress salesman, bakery, farming. I mean, and he was just such a wonderful, wonderful friend of mine for so many years, and we really miss him. Thank you.
We'll now hear from Joel Kaufman, his cousin, friend, and business associate.
Good morning. Bud and I went way back. When I was born in 42, I heard that I had a cousin, and as I grew up, I remember him, not as Buddy Owen, but I vaguely remember him as something like Buddy Cohn. I could be wrong, but I didn't know him very well because he spent his whole time in Miami Beach, where he was, I assume, born, and he spent all year long there, except in the summers. He'd come to Chicago. I lived in Aurora, and because we're related on my mother's side, I'd see him occasionally. My mother and his mother were first cousins, and our grandfathers were brothers. So the connection was fairly distant, relative-wise, but we soon became very close otherwise. Bud came to Chicago to work in the Hyman family dress business with his Uncle Ted, I believe. And I was working in Aurora in the Kaufman family dress business when my father told me one day that he was bringing Bud in from Chicago to come work for Arnie Kaufman. I was living with a roommate in a townhouse in Batavia, Illinois, when I really met Bud officially for the first time. Eventually, we were moving to Aurora because my roommate got married, and Buddy replaced him, and the two of us lived together for a few years. When I would go visit my fairly serious girlfriend in Champaign, he'd go with me occasionally. And the time came for me to pop the question and get engaged. We were down in Miami Beach at the time, and Sue was flying down not knowing my plan. Well, Buddy and his mother, Ruth, helped me plan the surprise engagement. And we somehow fitted an engagement ring inside an orchid. That Ruthie showed me how to do it, and Buddy was coaching me, and I went to the airport and gave Sue the ring and the parking lot at the Miami International Airport, and it worked out so far so good. 55 years next week. To reciprocate, I fixed Buddy up with my old neighbor who lived next to me in Aurora when I was growing up, Bobby Block. And it took, I guess, right? There are a lot of stories that I have from knowing him for 70 years that I could share, and many of them would not be of too much interest. So I'll tell you two quick ones. Buddy, as you know, was a Miami Beach, Florida guy. He had not much interest or experience in Chicago in the winter. And since we were both selling dresses at the time, we ended up at McCormick Place during a January snowstorm selling dresses at McCormick Place, the old McCormick Place, before it burned down. And we were staying in a motel just south of McCormick Place called 50th on the Lake, which is, the building is still there. And it was quite convenient and nice at the time. And we would drive down there. And one time he was driving, and we're going on South Lakeshore Drive and going into the exit. And I could see everything was loaded with snow and ice. And I tried to say to him, watch out for the ice. But I only got as far as watch out for the eye before he slammed on the brakes. And we ping-ponged down the exit ramp. And that was his first introduction to the bad parts of Chicago winter. One other story. He was not very happy with Chicago winters, and the snow got to him. And when we lived in Aurora, he would lose a glove every other week. He could never keep track of them. So I remember one birthday, I bought him a dozen pair of matching gloves at Woolworths or Kresge or something, cheap. I promise you I wouldn't have spent a lot of money for that. And nobody ever knew when he lost a glove again, because he always had in his drawer a replacement for it. So he made it through with gloves to spare. Bud liked to say that we were connected 3 significant ways. First, we were relatives, cousins. And second, we were business associates for more than 30 years. And most important, we were good friends. And that lasted a lifetime. I miss him, and I love him, and I'm happy to have shared that with you.
And it is our special privilege to be able to hear from Bobby, Bud's beloved wife. And so I would like to invite you up.
Jocelyn, come stand with me. Jocelyn is shy. You should just look over my shoulder. You've all heard different aspects of Bud's life, and some of this is going to be repetitious. But if you know me, you know I also have sometimes a weird, bizarre sense of humor. Who just laughed? And so I'm in a different format. Some of it may be repetitious, but it's in a different format. And I'm all glad you could all be here today, especially Joss. Okay, finally, after 17 months, a welcome to all our relatives and friends from childhood and adult, young, old, and new. I'm forever thankful to have survived COVID and sending my heartfelt gratitude that you also are well and that we can be here spending the day with you. First, I'd like to say, and I hope to be fairly brief, and already I can hear you thinking, what a relief. I see today as a celebration of Bud's life, the times we've had, the good, the bad, the happy, the sad. I knew from the start, I put this in capitals, handy he would not be. Our honeymoon pictures behind the 8mm lens cap, the Caribbean we would never again see. Reading the instructions and assembling toys from a box was not his forte. Back to the hardware store for parts and help took at least 2 to 3 weekend days. So he bought me my very own toolbox, and he painted it yellow. Then he had the nerve to give it to his farmer friend, Paul, a very fine fellow, but I never got it back. Bud left us with a lot of memories from his days in sales with R&M Kaufman and more recently Highland Baking. The staff at the docks were ready for the challah ferry. The fabulous rye, challah, and crusty boule were his for the taking. Bud loves sports, as you've heard, mostly as a spectator, but real-time fishing in Eagle River with the boys was his fave, right? Dressed in his striped railroad engineer overalls with his watch around a strap, into the lake, and he couldn't save. But we will never tell Aunt Eleanor. He gave away rods and lures, but we still have his knife. It's for one of his buddies to remember his on-the-water happy days and life. Everyone knew Bud at the kids' skating, baseball, and basketball games. He earned trophies for perfect attendance. Poppy was his name. Bud's other passions were cheering on the Blackhawks and the Bulls. Hats and souvenir t-shirts, his armoire shelves were full. But in his youth, a Southsider, always a die-hard Sox fan. If he could see them now, oh wow, he'd be the happiest man. Bud loved family gatherings, holidays and birthdays, and with Rosh Hashanah coming up, we need to award him with his very own Stanley Cup. Whether you knew Bud in his younger days or met in more recent years, you knew he was friendly, outgoing, and positive as he lived his life, and you shared with us in laughter and even tears. With bypass, heart failure, dialysis, and such, Bud fought and fought and fought until it just became too much. Excuse me a minute. We were all at bedside to say goodbye as he made some parting calls and told his mom, grandmother, and others hi. Remember?
Yes.
I couldn't bear to donate or part with some of Bud's memories and treasures. So in the spirit of sharing, I would like you to join in an auction of some of Bud's never worn winning t-shirts with the labels on them, Bulls and Blackhawks, and I will donate the proceeds to Loyola's heart failure team. Thank you for sharing this. You're going to see them out there eventually when we get there. Thank you for sharing this day with us and for your love and undying support. It means the world to me that you could be here. And also special thanks to Jocelyn, Bud's magnificent and loyal caregiver. She meant everything to him and to us. And she's a good cook and baker too. Unfortunately, she just moved to California. So when I need her services, I guess you'll find me out there. A big shout out to Barb for taking charge of scheduling and planning this day of remembrance with help from David Jacobson, the rabbi in Kaufman's Bakery. we're looking forward to sharing with you. We're looking forward to sharing with you at the Shiva in a few minutes. We're glad you could be here. Okay, have a Kleenex. Thank you.
Thank you.
No.
Finally, we're going to hear from his best childhood friend and his friend's wife, Michael and Norma Orovitz, who could not be here today but have shared a video message. So if you'll direct your attention to the monitor, it'll take just a moment to get that set up, and we will hear from them in just a moment. David? I was just told I needed to introduce it. It's coming? Great. So as they're bringing that up, I would take a moment to just take in everything that you've heard from people who shared a lifetime in many different capacities with Bud. Think of something that they said that you didn't know before, or reflect on something that they said that really resonated with you. And in just a moment, we'll hear from his best friend. Volume up, I think.
And I'm Norma Orovitz. I've known Buddy only 60 years because when I met Michael, I met Buddy. We said goodbye to Buddy twice before. 2 years ago, just before the pandemic, we made a trip to Chicago specifically to see Buddy and Bobby. And when I got into the car, Buddy hugged me and said, I think we may not see each other again. Buddy called me Friday, because he passed away. I believe he might have passed away on a Sunday. And he called
Thank you. There's a passage in the Talmud where the rabbis are discussing what is the strongest thing in the universe. One rabbi says it's stone, and another rabbi argues, of course. The rabbi says, no, it's wind, because wind can wear stone down over time. A third rabbi says, but a strong person can walk against the wind, so a person must be stronger. Yet another rabbi says, but death can overcome a person. Death must be the strongest thing. And yet another rabbi said, but memory can overcome death. Memory is the strongest thing. Today, we have heard many different memories of our friend Bud Owen. And so, with the knowledge that memory does in fact defeat death, we say, may his memory be for a blessing. Zikrona livracha. If you would kindly rise and join me, we'll read first in English and then chant in Hebrew, El Malei Rachamim. O God, full of compassion, thou who dwellest on high, grant perfect rest beneath the sheltering wings of thy presence among the holy and the pure, who shine as the brightness of the firmament, unto the soul of B. David Bud Owen, who is gone unto eternity. Lord of mercy, bring him under the cover of thy wings. Let his soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. Be God's possession, and may his repose be peace. Amen. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Pamromim, Hamatzeh Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei HaShechina, B'ma'alot Kiddushim HaToharim, Kezohar Haraki HaMazhirim. Et nishmat Bud Owen shehalach leolamo, began Eden tehe menuchato. Ana bal harachamim hasti rehu, beseter kinefecha leolamim, utzror bitzror hachayim et nishmato. Adonai hu nachlato, vayanuach b'shalom al mishkavo, v'nomar Amen. We now recite the words of Mourner's Kaddish. Although these words do not convey the gravity of death, they continue to express praise and love for the God that we want to support us in our time of need and at the time of our own deaths in the future. We say together, Yit Gadal, V'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, V'alma Divra Kirute, V'amlich Malchute, V'chayechon Uv'yomechon Uv'chaye Techol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala Uv'izman Kariv V'imru Amen. Yehe Shmei Rabbah Mibarach Leolam Ulamei Almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal Shemei dekudisha brechu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Damiran v'yoma v'imru. Amen. Yehe Shlama Rabbah min Shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, huya aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. And I would ask all of your help in greeting the mourners with the traditional words of Jewish comfort, found both in Hebrew and in transliteration at the bottom of the page. Hamakom yinechem etchem v'toch sha'ar avlei Tzion v'Yerushalayim. May God comfort you among the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. Thank you.
ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the service here at the chapel. Everyone is invited for Shiva Refreshments, and they'll be in the North Chapel and outside. Please keep in mind, with the increase of the pandemic, if you want to go outside, you're probably better off. We have tables and everything set up there. Memorial contributions in his memory to the Cardiology Gift Fund of Loyola Medicine. That information is on the service folder. And for those of you who are joining us online, all that information can be found on our website. At this time, I invite everyone to please rise and stand in place as we escort the family from the chapel.